Maken X's stylish first-person sword combat Shin Megami Tensei. Probably the most mega-tense game Atlus has ever made that isn't just labelled as part of the series. I mean, this is basically SMT in everything, minus the usual gameplay, which I'd say isn't as a defining feature as the art and general themes and feel of the series. Also, no demons anywhere, not even a Jack Frost Easter egg, surprisingly. Also, for fans of that sweet PS2 era Megami Tensei, then this is an absolute treasure in being the very earliest incarnation of that distinctive visual and musical style that would define my favourite era of my favourite series. You can hear that nocturne sound from the haunting title screen to the vast open world skies of the map. Only here it all sounds rougher and rawer, much more spontaneous. Heavy gritty industrial sludge and the big dumb grungy slugging guitar riffing meets anxiety laden pulsating drum and bass trance in a way that hits that aggressive ambient sound. Like it's all just this perfect echo of the dusty, depressive, vividly soulless environments you swerve and dart along through. It's nearing that Shadow the Hedgehog level of cathartic, edgy, dumbass bangers. The odd few lonely piano pieces break up that cold, possessed sound are both soothing and despairing, and Atlus Sound Team pulling that classic Sonic Team sound team move of having the greatest fucking music I will ever hear for an options screen that nobody would spend more than 10 seconds on. The underground feel carries into each level, all of their own unique features in layout and progression. From levels that are just straightforward corridors of sword clashing to back and forth light navigation mazes, some levels of platforming, the odd enemy-centric puzzle, and all the closed-off little arena rushes the game forces you through. From rain-swept neon highways, desolate snowfields, archaic castle dungeon temple tunnels to the suddenly blue skies burning harbour streets of Lisbon, lush Brazilian jungles, and even the White House, to wrestle down to the death Mecha Demon George Bush, aka George W. Bush. The strange corners and views of distant places from the skybox edges look surreal among the grimy industrial hells it blazed through. Very vague recreations of these real-world places. It's just the coolest shit ever, dude, that experimental, concept-driven kinda shit, you know? The guttural first-person sword combat all up in your enemy's face with brute force attacks meet swift dodge steps and pinpoint maneuvers. It's that turn of the millennium, Matrix martial arts, badass over-the-top choreography kinda thing, fucking deflecting missiles with a sword. Yet contrastingly it's slow in a survival horror sort of way. That tense camera battling, picturing where the enemies will have moved or where health power-ups are in these tight enclosed spaces. You don't just feel like a badass, but are forced to think and move and play like a ninja. Somersaulting over enemy heads is so fucking cool and easy to pull off, yet the disorientation with the first person static, always facing forward camera creates this amazing physical trade-off for such an always useful move. The very dodge roll feeling evasion steps are just as badass to pull off in this flurried sequence of in and out dancing delicate slashes at opponents. And to block, you just push down on the stick, walk away when attacked, fighting game style, making the balance of timing your defences and offences this godly, fluid, instinctive, effortless thing. Yet it's just clunky and awkward enough to that perfectly tense, wrestle dumb the jank kind of thrill that comes from that fascinating alternative world of action games made by teams who predominantly made turn-based RPGs. The game's a decent enough challenge and saves its real dicey moments for the boss fights, where you'll just barely be clenching through with either constant, skillfully managed defensive play or just go insane and force your way around their incredibly varied, characterised and just damn fun to dodge attack patterns. Even all the regular enemies feel like tiny boss fights in the way that you have to always watch them carefully for those big openings. You can get overpowered easily, but can just as easily plough your way through the parades of roided up cultist weirdos. Without unboxing that ever so big themed world order arranging ever-present death-ass classic SMT storyline, I love the moments where you meet the other characters in these fascinating little back-end rooms, moments in time, before ceremoniously taking over their body and soul, so they too can join you and your merry band of world-touring political assassination homies. Yeah, game's largely about possessing new characters. Oh, sorry, brainjacking. So you're constantly switching the feel of play. The Blade Masters you leave lying around like breadcrumbs, who control the same just with slight variation on movement speed and attack ranges, with the main thing being their unique special moves. These choices in who to visit and how to respond to them affects the game's story and sometimes where you can go next. There's whole levels, rooms and alternative areas that you'll just totally miss if you're not trying to see everything. The dialogue is very SMT with its mysterious, otherworldly ramblings and slow-burning apocalyptic tone. I love the scenes between big events where Kay, the first girl possessed, and just sort of like the spiritual vessel for all the other possessed souls, including you, the player. She just kinda talks with you about what she feels, what's happening to the world around them, and the many obsessive freaks that we come across on our path to enlightenment, or the new world, or whatever the fuck it was we're doing again. She's like a sort of angel on your shoulder, and how you respond to her sways the plot as well. But the variation in the story routes isn't really too much different. It's more for flavour. You still sort of hit all the same beats. It's more just about the general feel and how characters react to you, and how that all builds up in little pieces to change the end result. You can oppose the Blade Masters, so there's a clear evil route here as well that I actually didn't realise you could even do it this way until recording this, to be honest. Also, goddamn, that final area, dude. It's probably one of the most mind-fucking places I think I've ever seen in a video game. It's awesome. And yes, the janky English dub with all those Sonic Adventure voice actors is pure gold.
The funeral industry will make a killing.
The chief's data is heavily encoded. I was afraid of this. This will be hell to decode. What a pain.
Anything else?
Well, there's good news and bad news. Choose your poison.
I could use some good news.
I mean, hey, if a fun little dash of cruddy voice acting takes away from how much you can enjoy a video game, alright, that's on you, buddy, not the game. Put in like a sassy image, put in like something sassy. That was a sass moment right there. Mach and X is a cathartic slugfest of raw production that meshes really bloody well with the themes and atmosphere, creatively driven dark style of Shin Megami Tensei. I wish I could think of a game this reminds me of, because it's an insanely unique mix of things. Well, lo and behold, the PS2 half port, half alternative version, Mach and Shao. Taking Mach and X and completely flipping its perspective and feel, now playing in third person and with a fresher, overhauled soundtrack that's still beefy and dusky, but now more melodic, cinematic, kind of fun and kind of funky and spacious sometimes too, feeling like it's to fit the story and action more than the vibe and setting, which I personally preferred. Mach and Shao is Mach and X cleaned up, but with that unique close quarters brawling rough yet swift feel swapped out, the other side of the same coin. Surprisingly, it's much harder, I think, since block is now a designated button and there's no somersaulting over enemy heads, forcing you to go full on into the dodging and timing attacks that are much harder to read now because you aren't viewing them move so up close to the mask-wearing lunatics. There's midway save points and you can hold on to health and power-ups now, so to save all the going back and forth, remembering where that last health was that you're only now just needing. Shao feels slower as well somehow too, I think. Without the same simple, streamlined, every character is the same except for their super charge-up move, we have actual inputs now that you need to unlock by playing the character enough, which kind of incentivizes not brainjacking new warriors as often, which was something really interesting to play around with in that original flavour Mach and Shao is the more presentable rendition of a game that I'd say the appeal was in how raw and stylistic its rough design and loose flowing cathartic gameplay felt. In that unique close-up view, like first person sword combat is like hardly a thing outside of barely actiony RPGs and VR stuff. It's really cool. I'd much recommend Mach and X over Shell, even if they are pretty much the same game design wise. They're both still a badass, tense and weighty hack and slash in style more than speed of play type game. But going from one to the other just feels off. Also, Mach and Shell was released where I am by Midas, who are the kings of PS2 budget nothingness, yet also some surprising oddball gems like this one. And Rollercoaster World, so I'm kind of fond of them honestly. Hell, I mean, the first game I ever made any kind of video on was Skate Attack, this Tony Hawk with Jet Set Radio vibes, little anomaly. Ah, the dark days of 2017 game reviewers YouTube. What a desolate, horrifying time.